Listen up. You can execute the perfect macro split and hammer the foreshore till your lungs burn. But if you're redlining your system, you're just spinning your wheels. You're slogging through a century of crunches before the sun even hits the horizon, thinking hard yaka is the only way to break the seal on those results. But here's the hard truth. If your autonomic nervous system is locked in a survival hijack, your metabolism is effectively in a legal injunction against you. That stubborn visceral tissue? It's not a flaw. It's a biological fortress. Your body is stockpiling energy because it thinks you're under constant siege. Walking through the CBD, I see high performers every day, absolute legends, punishing their biology until they hit a metabolic wall. They aren't lazy, they're overstimulated. Look at that runner on the foreshore, absolutely buggered. Here's the brutal truth. That hard yaka is creating a metabolic stalemate. The more you wage war on your scales, the tighter your physiology clinches onto every gram of adipose tissue. We've been conditioned by the CBD gym bro culture to believe visceral fat is an enemy to be conquered through sheer attrition. They call it discipline, but in reality, it's a standard fitness paradigm failure that triggers systemic inflammation. You're flat out at work, fighting a sugar crash and a 3 p.m. slump simultaneously. This isn't just a lack of grit, it's a full-scale homeostatic rebellion. You're trying to outmuscle your own evolution, and your biology is winning. Now, pivot your focus. In Japan, they've mastered the biological pivot. They don't view the body as a fortress to be stormed, but as a sophisticated ecosystem to be harmonized. It's not about combat, it's about alignment. The secret lies in autonomic recalibration. It is about signaling absolute biological safety to your nervous system. When the cellular alarm stops screaming, the survival weight finally has permission to release. Listen to me, I was trapped in that exact same metabolic cul-de-sac just 12 months ago. I was the quintessential Aussie battler, fighting a war against my own biology. I was doing the full hard yaka routine, pounding the pavement on the foreshore, hitting the CBD gym until I was flat out, and tracking every micronutrient with surgical precision. The scale flickered, sure, but that stubborn visceral layer, that cortisol-induced spare tire around my midsection, remained completely non-negotiable. It was a physiological stalemate. It was an epigenetic lockdown. My nervous system was convinced we were in a state of scarcity, so it triggered a survival-based hoarding mechanism. It simply refused to unlock the energy reserves. I had to stop the grind and start the deep dive. I analyzed the Japanese protocols of biological sovereignty, and what I discovered shattered every myth of the Western hustle culture. Look closely at this crimson architecture. This is why that spare tire won't budge, despite all your hard yaka. It is the invisible architect of your metabolic cage. Cortisol. Think of it as your internal siren. Cortisol is the body's primary stress signal, a biological alarm bell that overrides every fitness goal you have ever set. When you are flat out in the CBD, grinding under those fluorescent lights until midnight, that siren never stops blaring. Your system becomes flooded and stagnant. This is where the battler mindset fails. Your body receives a biochemical mandate to hoard fat deep within your abdomen, wrapping around your organs like a shield. It is an ancient survival mechanism. Eons ago, stress meant a predator in the bush or a season of starvation. Your DNA still thinks you are fighting for your life. See that glow? That is your ancient survival blueprint at work. Your ancestors didn't have a fridge. They had a visceral vault. Your body hoarded energy in your midsection as a biological emergency fund, ensuring you had the fuel to survive a sudden famine or a long trek through the bush. But fast forward to the Sydney CBD at peak hour. We've traded the plains for the concrete jungle, yet we're running flat out. Modern life doesn't just spike your cortisol. It locks it into a permanent, high-voltage state that never lets the body reset. It is a relentless assault on your peace. Unpaid bills, the interest rate hike, that smartphone screen burning your retinas at midnight. It is a psychological siege that your body interprets as a physical threat. Here's the neurobiological hijack. Your nervous system is primitive. It cannot distinguish between a predator stalking you in the outback and a manager yelling in the boardroom. To your amygdala, it is the exact same signal, red alert. That urgent email at 6 p.m.? That is your modern-day predator. Your system floods with cortisol, the storage hormone, signaling your body to hold on to every gram of fat for dear life because it thinks you are under siege. You are not failing your diet. Your biology is just trying to save you. Your biology is running an ancient survival script. It's hoarding those reserves in the visceral vault because it thinks you're in a permanent famine. It's not laziness. It's a biological siege. This is the glitch in the hard yaka matrix. You're smashing it at the gym and eating clean, but your cortisol is still redlining. Your body will never trade fuel for energy while it thinks it's under fire in the CBD. Listen to me. You have to break the cortical lockdown. We need to shift from the battler state to absolute biological safety. If the brain doesn't feel safe, the fat stays locked in the vault. Watch what happens. When the nervous system masters its environment, the vault opens. The metabolic leverage shifts. The stubborn weight doesn't just burn, it surrenders. I'm handing you the 5 Japanese protocols that silenced my own internal alarm. These aren't just hacks. They are the keys to recoding your survival response right here in the Aussie hustle. Stop treating your biological vessel like a punching bag in a suburban gym. We're moving from metabolic friction to cellular flow. It's time to breach the visceral vault and finally vaporize the adipose tissue that's been holding you hostage. Let's calibrate your blueprint. Protocol Alpha, the evening immersion. We are dismantling the hard yaka burnout architecture with a cornerstone of Japanese longevity. From the neon-soaked hustle of Shinjuku to the quiet corners of Kyoto, the evening ofuro at exactly 40 degrees Celsius is non-negotiable. It is a thermal recalibration for your overtaxed cellular engine. This isn't just about rinsing off the CBD grime or the day's grit. It's a sacred neurological off-ramp. You're signaling to your primitive brain that the hunt is over and the fortress is safe. You're flushing the toxic cortisol before it hardens into midsection insulation. Total thermal immersion triggers a massive parasympathetic surge. It flips the switch from cortical lockdown to metabolic repair. Your body stops hoarding fat as a survival currency and starts burning it for energy. The melt begins in the stillness. My mentor Daiki-san used to drop this truth bomb. The bath isn't just for washing skin. It is where you shed the psychic debris of a hard day so your soul starts tomorrow with a 0-point baseline. Living in a cramped CBD apartment with no tub? Don't let that battler mindset block your progress. A 15-minute tactical foot soak is a neural bypass that triggers the exact same parasympathetic flip. Protocol 2. Morning light and the low, velocity stride. We aren't training for the footy finals here. We are engineering metabolic peace through movement. The moment those first photons hit your retinas during a quiet foreshore walk, you are initiating a high-level biological command. No screens, no artificial glare, just pure, raw frequency hitting the brain. This floods your system with serotonin, the ultimate neurochemical assassin for cortisol. By resetting your circadian rhythm now, you are hard-coding your body to incinerate fat while you sleep. I abandoned the grind and engaged a strategic deceleration protocol. 15 minutes of low-impact metabolic synchronization along the foreshore. No noise, no podcasts, just raw photonic input recalibrating my circadian clock at a cellular level. Here is the physiological pivot the CBD hustle ignores. To achieve visceral adipose liberation, gentle oscillation trumps brute force. You aren't being lazy. You are signaling neurological safety to a body that's been in survival mode for years. That 6 a.m. hit session isn't hard yakka, it's a chemical ambush. Smashing your system with high-intensity stress spikes your cortisol into a state of metabolic arrest. Your biology thinks it's trapped in a bushfire, so it hoards fat as a survival mechanism. Protocol 3. Shinrin-yoku. To the Aussie battler, it's just mindful bushwalking. To the metabolic scientist, it is atmospheric bioimmersion. We are moving beyond exercise into the realm of nervous system mastery. The data is binary. Urban concrete is a sensory tax on your fat-burning potential. Immersing your biology in a eucalyptus canopy triggers a systemic cortisol flush that no gym floor can replicate. This is how you melt the stubborn layers, not by fighting, but by returning to the source. This isn't just a casual stroll through the scrub. This is atmospheric bioimmersion. You're bathing your cells in phytoncides, flushing out that CBD-induced cortisol that's kept your fat storage in a state of high-security lockdown. Ditch the podcast. Leave the iPhone in the ute. This is about deep integration with the landscape. When you walk the foreshore or the bush unplugged, you're signaling to your nervous system that the hard yakka is over. You are finally safe to burn. Now we activate the internal lever. Protocol 4. Tanden breathing. This is the master key to metabolic stillness. In the Japanese tradition, the tanden is your hara, the seat of your life force, 3 centimeters below the navel. While the average Aussie is chest breathing in a panic, the master breathes from the core to command their biology. By directing your breath here, you're manually hijacking the vagus nerve. You are switching off the fight-or-flight alarm and forcing your body into a parasympathetic state where fat oxidation becomes the default, not the exception. Locate your tanden, the anatomical epicenter of your biological sovereignty. Place your hands there. As you inhale, expand the abdomen, physically pushing against the hard yakka tension of the day. This is a manual override of the vagus nerve, silencing the CBD noise and reclaiming your internal peace. 5 minutes. That is the tactical window required for a total neurological circuit breaker. We are initiating a measurable, physiological pivot from the fight or flight rat race into a state of metabolic dominance. This is where fat burning actually begins. Protocol 5. Uncompromising sleep. In the hierarchy of self-mastery, this is the non-negotiable anchor. We aren't just talking about hitting the hay. We are talking about a strategic, metabolic shutdown for systemic restoration. In Japan, rest is a sacred pillar of longevity. But here in Australia, we've been conned into wearing sleep deprivation like a badge of honor. We think the grind requires sacrifice, but sacrificing your sleep is hormonal harakiri. Look at the biometrics. Running on 4 hours is an act of metabolic sabotage. You are flooding your system with cortisol cascades and triggering insulinic anarchy. You're not a battler. You're just a machine programmed to store fat while you're awake. When you bypass your sleep cycles, your biology triggers a metabolic lockdown. This isn't just a missed nap. It's a high-level survival alert. That visceral fat around your midsection, it's being fortified as a survival cache. Because your nervous system thinks you're under siege. You need to stop treating exhaustion like a badge of honor at the local footy club. 7 to 8 hours of deep, restorative sleep is your hormonal architecture. It is the non-negotiable foundation of neurochemical sovereignty. No amount of hard yucca can outwork a broken circadian rhythm. Witness the cumulative bioadvantage, the forest bathing, the tanden breathing, the thermal reset. They all gain exponential leverage when your foundation is solid. Without sleep, you're redlining an empty engine. With it, you are an optimized biological machine. Stop the struggle porn of punishing your body into submission. Force creates friction. Safety creates flow. Signal biological safety to your vagus nerve. Convince your brain the hunt is over, and watch how effortlessly your body releases what it no longer needs to carry. Discipline is the bridge to your future sovereignty. Which of these 5 protocols are you anchoring today? Drop it in the comments below. Stay disciplined, stay calm, and take command of your biology.